think that's us, man. I think we're live. Yes, we're live. So, everybody, I want to just say thank you. Oh, you need to turn. You've got that running in the background, James.
So sorry. Let me just put my. I forgot to put my headphones in. I'll do that right now.
You've got the YouTube running in the background. You have YouTube running in the background on the other screen. I think we're live. Yes, we're live. So,
it's on mute.
I want to just say thank you. Oh, you need to turn. You've got that running in the background. Sorry, that was me. Totally me. All me. All me. Nope. Fuck that up. Sorry. Appreciate it. So, can everybody hear me mess up? And my mic coming through okay? And I think the desktop mic should be coming through okay. Yes. So that after that debacle's over, James, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate you, giving us your time. I know you're very busy. You streamed twice yesterday. You're streaming later tonight. You also go to school, and I believe you have a job as well.
Yes, it is. It's definitely busy, but I'm excited to be here. It's honestly kind of a recharging and just a fun thing to get to do. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping we should have fun tonight. One thing you'll find here, man, is that we're very relaxed. Nobody really gives two flying fucks as long as you're polite to a point. As long as there's no malice behind anything and you're friendly, you're good. We'll have a good time. So if you want to just, man, give everybody in the audience, I don't know who doesn't know who you are, but if you want to give everyone in the audience a wee shout out, just let them know what you do, where your channel is, and who you are, man.
I'm happy to. Yeah, very glad to be with you guys. And I'm at a channel called Modern Day Debate. It's really a open channel in the sense that we'll host almost any debate topic, mostly religion, politics, and science. And it's been a total, for me, it's an absolute fun time. It's basically, I would say the two main goals or kind of components of the vision for the channel are we want to hopefully host nonpartisan or fair debates on the meaningful questions. And also, we do have usually at least once or twice a month, we do like to give all the super chats for that particular debate to a cause. So whether it be like starving children or child burn victims, we kind of feel like it's a way that we can both kind of take responsibility for ourselves and also kind of try to take responsibility for others who are in dire circumstances. So it's a really meaningful thing for me. I really do enjoy it. It's honestly, it really lights me up every time I get to.
But you see, that sort of leads into one of the main questions I would ask most people when they come on here is, why do you do what you do? Now, I know it's been only Modern Day Debate. Well, it's been Modern Day Debate for a while, but it was originally Modern Day Hysteria. That's how I found you. But
yeah.
I can understand why the name change happened, because it did generally become more of a debate channel, and that's exactly Modern Day Debate. Perfect. It describes exactly what it does. But why did you start Modern Day Hysteria originally? What was the goal? What was the idea? Were you bored? Were you unemployed? Had you nothing to do? Or
yeah, so it was back in 2016. I was just finishing up my master's in philosophy. I love philosophy and psychology, and I was basically thinking of just all the interesting topics that were kind of being kicked around. Back then, like things like PC, whether or not PC has gone too far, was still kind of popular. And I definitely enjoyed like the philosophy of religion debates, like God's existence, stuff like that. And so that was why I kind of named it so broadly, is I thought, well, Modern Day Hysteria has a flexibility to it to where I can cover like whatever interesting to me at the moment. So it was basically, I'm just, you could say I'm big on ideas. I really enjoy all sorts of different ideas.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that, man. That's sort of similar what I'm trying to get here. When you get down to the big questions, when you get down to the big questions, meaning of life and why are you here and can you give yourself meaning to life and all that there, it does sort of, okay, that we all have our own bias from when we were grown up and where we came from, and obviously you have your Christian upbringing, or sorry, I think you said sort of flexible spiritual upbringing, and we all have our biases, but when you go to ask the hard questions, it does sort of usually end up on that sort of topic, philosophy, theology, and God, and Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's to me it seems hard to. I mean, my guess is that's why people on both sides are pretty interested, whether they be atheist or theist or Christian, etc. Is that I think that whether or not there's a God is like seems very like if there is one, like what would it want? Does it want anything? And all those questions come up, and so it's definitely I think one of the bigger questions in philosophy.
And your personal stance, would you make, you obviously, well, I think everybody knows that you're a Christian, yes?
Yeah, I'm definitely a Christian, and I think that
Are you like
the
Richard
years
Madsen? Are you a heretic?
I don't know exactly what Richard's ideas are. I think we've gotten to have him on once before, but um you could say kind of like a run of the mill Protestant. And there are a lot of things where I'm like, yeah, I haven't really feel like I studied enough to take a firm stance on a lot of things like origins. I'm pretty agnostic. I
We love
tend to
that word
lean
here. We love that word here. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm kind of like hold a lot of ideas with an open hand, but you could say that those like kind of 10 doctrines that have historically stuck around for thousands of years, like the deity of Christ, things that are, you could say, commonly historically found among groups calling themselves Christians, I would adhere to. And at the same time, it's true that a lot of Christians today are uncomfortable around atheists. I think that's true. I think that even an atheist, even just saying like, yeah, I'm an atheist, for some reason, a lot of Christians are kind of like almost like mildly triggered by that. They're like, oh, like, and I don't know if it's just because I've been around in the game so long, but I'm like, hope that atheists feel comfortable at modern day debate.
Oh, I would
And I
say
hope that,
so.
and kind of saying that they're an atheist, I hope that they feel comfortable and not feel like people are going to get all bent out of shape about it.
Oh, I go out of my way to do it, man. I tell people I enjoy having these conversations in actual real life. I've said multiple times, I know you haven't obviously known, but I have a license plate on my car that says 666 purely just to get a strive out of people. That, it's that and my initials. And they're like, who owns that car that's black with that on the front? Oh, me. You want to talk about it?
Did you say XXX?
666.
Oh, 666. Okay, yeah, I got you. Okay. Yeah.
Not that
It's
I'm a Satanist or worship the devil or anything like that. And the first thing I usually go in is, where the whole idea of where it came from was the name Nero and that guy with the whole history of that. And because most people just see it and go, oh, he worships the devil. It's like, no, no, no. Come talk to me.
yeah, I know what you mean. That's super interesting.
Yeah, well, I enjoy talking. I generally talk too much. I usually have to tell my guests, feel free to moderate me. I talk too much. But on that topic of moderation, James, specific question for you that's never been asked before, and you know it's coming. Moderation on your channel. Okay? Everybody in the chat that I've talked to wants to know what the crack is with the moderation on your channel. I'm going to ask my bit, and then I'm going to, if you could explain from your point of view, from what I see is, I'm going to ask you, give you some options. Are you watching the chat too much? Are you trying to produce too much? Do you need a wee hand with that? Or what is it? Is there something dragging your attention away from the moderation? Or is it that the fact that you want it to just burn sometimes?
Yeah. So I think that there's, even if I had a producer completely taking care of all that, and even if I had someone who was completely watching over the chat, believe it or not, I really would moderate pretty much the same. And the reason is I know that sometimes people don't like what might be called ultra laissez-faire moderation. The reason though that we are so easygoing, and sometimes admittedly it goes off topics, and like once in a while we've even like the debaters are like, I don't want to talk about this anymore, let's talk about this, and I'm like, okay, I'll change the title.
Yeah, you're
The
very
reason
free,
is,
you're very laid back and all that. I get that, but you would still go with the whole, just let them scream at each other sometimes.
yes, yeah, last night was a wild one. I think that there are a couple of things.
Well, not
Go
taking last night. Purely last night was an example of a fucking dumpster fire. It was like it was a complete waste of Skylar's time, a waste of your time. You know, the guy had no idea what was going on, and he looked like the Stapler Man from Office Space. I couldn't get over that. I only jumped in like 25 minutes late, and the first thing I heard was, let's go to questions and answers. I was like, what? Fuck. I had to listen back the first 20 minutes this morning. It was, yeah. But when you're moderating, you're not also stopping people from screaming at each other, but you can lead the conversation. Like you did last night. You did, you know, if I could sound like a mother or a father, go, I'm very proud of you. You moderated really well last night where you tried to steer the conversation back on topic. Sometimes when people scream at each other, as a person who screams, we can get diverged and go off on tangents. But you understand where I'm coming from?
Generally, yeah. I think that I guess that I'm a pretty maybe stoic person in that I don't, and I don't even know if stoic probably wouldn't be quite the right word.
I would define myself as a wee bit stoic. I like the whole, you know, sort of idea of that. Not completely and down the route and all, but, you know, I would live my life to that sort of point, but I would not put you in the same box as that. If I can be rude in saying that, like, you're too nice to people. With the, you know, you're not emotional, but you're just nice.
Yeah, I mean, the way in which I'm thinking about the moderating, the style that I take is I don't think it's like immoral to yell at each other. It doesn't really bother me. Frankly, I don't think it really should bother anybody else. I think that I think this is where the stoicism comes in, where I'm thinking like you yell at each other, maybe you disagree, and I don't yell, like it's not my style, but I mean, like if two debaters yell at each other, it's kind of like you know, hopefully they're still making points while they're yelling, and after that you're just like, all right, well, we go on with our day and we don't let it bother us. And so I guess for me, conflict is just something that I'm kind of like, let's just get comfortable with it, even if it is that kind of passionate yelling and even swearing. Like I don't, in a way that sounds like I'm condoning it. I certainly am not going to, I don't want to regulate the debaters. That's a huge thing for me, is that I want them to have that kind of freedom to say pretty much what they want, with the exception of like hate speech.
Yeah,
and
I
so
would agree with you with that. You know, like certain rules and stuff like that. I think a general rule, some people throw in, you're not allowed to say this word and you're not allowed to say that word and this, that and the other, and there's always context and back and forth, and you can say something that someone else said and you're not actually saying it, and you end up in a whole heap of trouble. I think a general rule is just don't be a dick. You know, if you can help someone, you should help someone, and just don't be a dick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't usually try to be a jerk, but when I don't really mind it as much. I don't really like if debaters come in and they want to like ambush each other in a discussion. Like they're like, I want to show you, like, aha, I got you. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't really bother me. I think that there can still be things that you learn, that we can learn as an audience from when people do try to do these kind of ambushes of like, aha, you hadn't thought this through because there's an inconsistency here or something like that.
I hate that.
So I'm, like I said, I'm just kind of, I'd prefer people not do hate speech. That's kind of like my only rule. And if they are mean to each other, I mean, we had once in a while, we have like some debates that are kind of like mean in blood sports. And that
guy deserved it last night. I know that you don't, you know, Skylar did swear and blind and all, but that guy deserved it last night. And then it went down a whole comical route. It, you know, it was funny. But if you had, say, for talk's sake, you're not allowed to swear on my channel, and the fact that Skylar then swore on your channel, he would deserve a ban and he's never allowed back and all that. But the context of last night, it was definitely deserved, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't want to. And you know, Skylar apologized after.
Exactly. Like, yeah, he apologized because he knows it's not your thing. But you're never going to say Skylar's not allowed back on again because he swore.
Right. I mean, I frankly just don't care if people swear. I mean, like, it doesn't bother me.
But no, even if you had a rule that said that, that's the point I'm trying to make. You know, there's certain things that you can say and certain things you can't say. You wouldn't go that far. I'm trying to lean towards the live chat, man. There's things that does be said in your live chat by certain people that does get out of control sometimes, and they do be wrenched. You know, there is certain people which I agree with you to a certain point. Whenever that certain person that does not be named here originally came to this channel, I wrenched them for safety because I knew that people would just ban them because of who they are. But the more that you look and the more that you listen, you realize that these people don't deserve to be listened to because they regurgitate. They're there just to get a reaction. They're there for what you say, the gotcha moments that we don't like, you know? And the fact that they have a wrench, they cannot be moderated. They cannot be reeled back in, so to speak, you know? If they make a comment that's a little bit outside the box, it gives the moderator a chance to bring it in. If they're blue, it goes straight through and nobody's a chance. Nobody can take it back. And it's not that I take screenshots of anything, but I think you get the hint of where I'm coming from here. I'm trying to be as nice as possible, man, because I really have an awful lot of respect for you.
I don't take it personally at all. I mean, it's just like we have different preferences in terms of if a moderator is not using hate speech, I'm like pretty much like anything goes. If they're abusive, at some point I'll draw the line. So I took away a wrench yesterday from somebody, and I've done it to like Sarah and Steven Steen even. But I don't do it because like I said, it's like
to me, a moderator should be a complete up the middle. It doesn't matter whether you're a theist or an agnostic or anything like that. You know, I've helped people on both sides. What do you call him? Converse Contender. He needed a Discord set up. I don't agree with any of his views, but I can set a Discord up in like 15 minutes. So it was easy for me. As I say, if you can help people, you should help people. So I did that for him. It does, as the taking the middle stance. I don't agree with him, but I think that a moderator should also take that stance where you should be on the fence. You should see from both sides. And I see sometimes in your live chat that moderators spend an awful lot of time fighting with each other, you know, and it's generally down to a certain group of people. And I'm not saying that it's all theists and all atheists. There's problems on both sides of the community. I can see that. I'm not stupid enough, but I don't know. This was just my opportunity to bitch slap you about your moderation, so I think I've got everything out of my system. And if we could maybe open it up to the chat while you give an answer back to my ignorance. So
I get that there's definitely different perspectives. I don't have disagreements about that. I don't doubt that it would be more enjoyable for you if it were different in that way. And at the same time, the autonomy of the moderators is just something that I place a pretty high value on. And I know that you value it as well. It's just that these are all like at varying levels in terms of how much we value these things and the possible effects that they might have and all those things. We weigh all those different factors.
Sorry to interrupt, but I agree with bringing everyone into the conversation. I'm just saying that when you get to that level, when you're platforming these people, when you're wrenching these people, and when you're giving them a voice to shout, that's fine to give them the voice to shout, but some things they say and do are just not right. And it's okay to listen to them and talk to them, but I don't think they should have certain, because in a live chat, when you're doing your moderation job, as I said, you should be moderating on this, you should be up the middle. But there's certain people that abuse the moderator point to the fact that it's not, they just say what they want and do what they want, and there's nothing that can be done about it.
Gotcha.
And it's fine to let them do with that. And if but I don't know, maybe it's my preference, man, but they what I find is certain moderators on your channel are not on the fence. They're not doing the moderator job. They're using their moderator status to spread their word, which is not what should be done. If they want to spread their word, just let them spread their word. If they're a moderator, they're supposed to be up the middle. That's how I see it, and If you want a response, I look at the orange lights in the live chat and see if anyone's got any questions. And if you want to go with, yeah, go.
Are you saying I should look for questions?
No, I'm gonna look for questions. You reply to what I've said. If there's anything you want to say to what I've said.
Right. I don't know. I can see that we have different perspectives on the purposes of the moderators. That's really about it, right?
Yeah, we could define that word and go down the Steve McRae route, right? Define moderator.
Yeah, or define their purpose, like what's the outcome that you're hoping for. And I think that they're kind of different. I think that for me, autonomy is like a huge value that trumps an awful lot of other stuff. I think that if there are people who want to, spread their word, whether it be in the name of atheism or Christianity or whatever it is, as moderators, it just doesn't bother me.
So if you think that someone who has a wrench in your live chat made a racial slur, do you think that person deserves the wrench?
Well, I think I already mentioned that the hate speech is where we actually do draw the line.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I don't know for personal experience, because I'll be honest now, man. I don't know about your analytics or watch your channel or anything, or less people viewing, more people viewing. I hope the channel's doing real well, but I have personally watched less recently because it just does get a little bit out of control. And not that I'm one for taking screenshots or anything like that, but I could probably shout out to a few people here and ask in the live chat, have they screenshots of people with a wrench making racial slurs? And I bet you they could come back to me and I could show that to you. And maybe it's just that you've missed it, but this is the point I'm trying to make. They get away with certain things that are clearly saying, and possibly sometimes in between the lines, but they're making the dig without saying the dig. Like, for example, In Time. I don't know if you've heard. You've obviously heard of Nick Suter and his show In Time. They had a stream last week, I think it was, and it got demonetized before it got uploaded because of the topic. And the first thing I did when I got over to the live stream was send a $2 super chat that said boobies, just to help towards their demonetization. For a bit of fun, for a bit of crack. But I had to work around that because I'm not blue. I had to use 0 and 0 instead of O and O. Boobies was blanked by YouTube, and I had to work around that. And there's people in the wrenches that are working around the rules, so to speak, still saying what they're saying. I'm ranting, man. I'm ranting. I feel like I've got you on to shout at you, and that's not what I'm going for. But there's a chat in the community about what's going on in modern day debate. Is it that you're doing this for, like, I don't know. I'm just going to be quiet now and let you respond. I interrupted and just went on a rant. I feel like asshole.
This is no. I hope you continue. Like you're not being an asshole. I'm actually curious. Like when you, I was hoping you'd keep going. When you said there's conversation in the community with regard to, like, I think you were saying maybe like why modern day debate is done, or
no, never done. But I used to jump in and you'd 900 people watching. I jumped in the other day and you'd 178 people watching. That's you used to. Well, maybe I'm exaggerating numbers. We use a lot of things in air quotes here, but I feel from a viewer who's been there with you for a long time that the views are dropping. My personal views are dropping. I'm watching less. This is my opinion. I'm not looking at your analytics. I don't watch your Social Blade or anything, but I just feel that it would be better if you... Here, I'm going to tell you how to run your fucking channel now and be a complete asshole. But if you did 3 shows a week instead of a show and 2 shows a day, I think it would be better quality over quantity.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
I'm going to mute myself before I interrupt again, so I've just been talking. I'm just trying to get this all out.
No, I'm happy to listen. I was curious, though. I think you were saying... You had said that there's some sort of talk in the community. I heard that phrase. That's what I was most curious about, is that, like, I think you were saying maybe something like people are wondering about the purpose of like modern day debate or
But
something.
when I say the
That's what,
community, man, I'm saying my community. I'm not saying the skeptic community as general. I'm just talking about the people who I talk to, because we talk about what we watch and we talk about what we do. And like we watched your show last night and then jumped off, and then we talked about it. We'll watch a Skylar one and jump off. We'll watch Atheist Edge and watch it and jump. We're friends. We hang out. We Discord, I know you're not on it, or if you're on it, but you can have your own little community, and I've got my own wee pigsty, as we call it. And we're all friends. I've had two of them that's on the. They come to my house and drink. There's people there that I know. We're like friends, as and that's what I mean. But I mean community. I'm not a representation of everyone in the skeptic community.
yeah. I wasn't, but I wasn't asking. Like I probably haven't stated this. Probably asked it in a clumsy way. Like I wasn't asking as much like what, like I wasn't asking like, well, which community. It was more that I was asking like, what were you gonna say that I think you were saying something to the effect of like, in the community we've been talking about like the purpose or like what. I was at what's the thing that's being discussed in the community, not which community. That's what
Well,
I was
right. Well,
trying to.
one episode I could possibly bring from my point of view, right? I know I'm not going to mention a person in the chat, but I know that a person in the chat did unsubscribe to you, and I'm pretty sure that they have resubscribed to you, but they took a wee break because of a certain debate. I can't remember what debate they were watching, but for me, there was one night when I actually jumped on, and there was a guy dressed like a pharaoh. I have no idea what that guy was doing. He had dressed in an Egyptian
Oh,
outfit. And it felt to me like they were just taking the whole idea of platforming this and moderating as a joke. He was dressed as a pharaoh.
yeah. So you're gonna say that the community was talking about a pharaoh?
No, 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 no. What I'm saying is that's my personal experience. This is what made me think, what the hell's happened with modern day debate? There's a guy on dressed like a pharaoh. And I know someone else in the live chat here who has, from watching one of your debates with bad moderation and what shit does be going on, unsubscribed from your channel, recently has subscribed again, but these are friends of mine that we talk, like you're going to leave tonight and maybe talk to your friends about being on my channel. It's just what people do. We talk about our day and what we've watched. And I just, I feel like I've said everything now and I'm just digging a hole and feeling awful. But if there's any clarification you need, just ask.
Yeah,
I talk too fast. My accent is strong. I've maybe lost you.
no. I do wonder a little bit. Like my question just doesn't seem to be getting through because it's not a big deal. I think that it's good for me to hear your feedback. It's really helpful for me to kind of get to consider like the kind of range of perspectives on the channel. Like, because I'm pretty open to like changing. Like I don't really hold any particular like things about it with like a closed hand where other than being,
when
like
you first started using OBS and you went all blue and started doing the frames and everything, there was one video I was watching with a girlfriend and we were both talking about how your production looked well. Because I said, "You see this? He didn't look like this like 2 weeks ago. Doesn't it look good now? He's looking well. Your production is better value now. I love your flaming werewolf. That's like your
nice.
icon. I really like it because it's like a Cerberus with a halo, a head of Cerberus with a halo. So it's like
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice of you to say. Thanks so much. It's Adam Friended has helped us a lot with the graphics. We have come a long way since those first ones, and it's thanks to Adam.
Well, that's good. I feel like I've put you in a spot now. I put you into a corner. I feel like an asshole now, but
No.
I am blunt. This is why I probably don't have many in real life friends. But I say it how I see it, and if anything, James, we've had 20. There's 27 people watching. This has smashed my previous record of 20 people for like 10 seconds. So thank you so much for that as well.
Oh, I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. Don't worry. You honestly haven't put me. I'm not like bothered at all. I think some people don't realize my background is like I've been in the
Tell us
debate
about your
world.
background, man. Do that, because we usually start with about where people are from and how they either found their faith or lost their faith, and I just jumped straight in with a moderation for 20 minutes because it was a topic I wanted to bring up. But you did say that you weren't raised by Christian parents, more spiritual parents.
Yeah, I would say maybe more deist. And and then definitely like politically like more liberal. It was by no means a conservative home, and I'm more centrist politically now. And so I've definitely like my parents would consider me even conservative,
Yeah.
even though I think I'm like fairly in the middle. But um, then I got a bachelor's in psych and then in philosophy, and then I got a master's in philosophy and then one in psych. And now I'm working on a master's and doctorate in industrial organizational psych. And all the while, like I've been in the debate world, like pretty, like I used to set up debates on campuses and things like that, both as a student and then when I went on staff with a nonprofit. So like I'm really like comfortable with the debate world. I'm not like easily like like I said, that stoicism is like I'm not really hurt or like sensitive and like, and I never hold a grudge. Like that's kind of part of my personal philosophy of like, I don't see that as like good or healthy or helpful. So I definitely don't worry about, you haven't backed me into a corner. It's really actually quite helpful for me to get to hear someone be honest about the things that they're like, I think this could be improved. It's, if anything, it's just going to make the channel better. So don't worry about that. I promise. I'm
No,
not at all.
I can agree with you on that. As I've said on the channel before, I recently had to change depots. It was lower in position, but the same money that I am getting, and it's actually closer to the house, so it works out better. But whenever it happened, I had to go and have a conversation. And at the end of it, the boss, the manager, or the whole company was all, "You're taking this very well. Are you all right?" And I was like, "Well, what do you want me to do? Scream and shout and throw things at you? Will that change anything?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "Exactly. It's just the way it is." And I would agree with you in that sort of. My girlfriend sometimes gets angry. I took the pram home. We do live 2 hours apart. We are together. We have a child together, but we live 2 hours apart. And one day I actually took the pram home, and she had no pram for a couple of days. She rang me up and she's all, "You drove home with a pram?" And I started screaming. I was like, "Honey, just stop shouting. I'll get it sorted." And I rang the company that delivers our tires, and I put it through the paperwork as a tire and wrapped it up in black bin bags and sent it to where she lives as a tire on the paperwork. Didn't pay for it or nothing, but she got it the next morning. There's no point in shouting. Things will get sorted, and I've said before here, I'm trying to aim for, think of an Irish pub with a pool table down the back where everybody can sit and hang out, and if need be, you can shout at someone and maybe hit them with the pool cue if necessary, but they'll always come back the next weekend because they know we're all friends here to a certain point.
That's cool. I like that a lot. That's very similar in some ways
And
to modern day debate.
something similar to you again, Mum. I always have referred, even before I heard you refer to your own upbringing, I would have referred to my mother as a spiritual Christian. She has said before, "Why the fuck do you need to go to a church? God's everywhere." It's like she does her own thing. She believes in her own thing, but Jesus is and God is who they are and would align with Christian theology. But she couldn't tell you what books of the Bible she knows or what doctrine she follows. She just knows and does her own thing. I think I'm very liberal again.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm like that way now. I'm actually like, you could say what people would probably consider like theologically conservative. Like I think that there's only one true religion.
Yeah, I mean your upbringing. I mean, your parents were something. I'm getting from the conversation that your parents and your upbringing was something very similar to mine. It was like, you don't have to be in a box. You can pick and choose what you want. I just find that it's like
I
two
see.
opposites. You went down the spiritual route, being given that opportunity or not, and I didn't, being given the opportunity or not.
Yeah, it does sound like our backgrounds, like our homes that we grew up in, were pretty similar. That's true.
Yeah, that's all I'm trying to say. But I'm dragging it out because I do tangents and I talk too much. So I'll let you finish. Go on ahead. So when did you find Christ and go where you are now?
So when I was in high school, I did go to church as a superstitious thing at first. So I thought maybe that it could like help me perform better in school or football, whatever. And so it was purely superstitious. It was kind of this, like, well, if there's a God out there, maybe it'll help me if I'm doing something like that is like religious or something. And then it wasn't until I was 20 when I heard the gospel, the idea that like I'm a sinner and that I can't measure up. And by sinner, I mean like relative to God's like perfect standard. Like I'm in deep trouble with
Yeah.
The moral lawmaker.
I'm originally a
And
Presbyterian, so it's you're going to hell unless you're doing good things. So yeah.
yeah, it's a little different from what I came to. Like the gospel for me was more like no matter how many good things I had tried to do or try to do in the future, like it wouldn't wash away the bad things that I had done, and that's why the message that I came to embrace was a message that like I needed Christ's blood to wash away the sins, and so that's what I. That was where there was actually like repentance or basically a change in behavior because before that it was like I was a spiritual person but I was I didn't care about living according to like any of Jesus's like like so-called rules. Like it was more about just like, oh, I just want to do things my own way. And then only when I was like 20 and heard that gospel message and kind of received Christ and said I want to trust Christ as my savior, that's when there was like starting to be a change in the behavior. So it's but not because I was thinking it would get me into heaven. It was more out of like a thankfulness for trusting that Christ had gotten me into heaven by what he did on the cross.
When did you start your philosophy and stuff and going down that route, that the education route that you're on now?
Not long after that. So I was a psychology undergrad at that point, and then I finished up that bachelor's, but at the end of that bachelor's I knew I liked philosophy a lot. I was getting into like the apologetic stuff, philosophy of religion stuff, and I got a bachelor's in philosophy. And I thought for a while that I would go get a PhD in it. And so I got the master's, and I realized partway through the master's, I was like, you know what? I like this, but I'll just finish this master's and then I'll go into psychology. And I just enjoyed them roughly the same, and psychology seemed to offer more opportunities. So, yeah. But I would say since I became a Christian, that's when I started to become more intellectually oriented. Before that, I was kind of a jock, and I didn't really consider.
Your size doesn't give it away at all. You played football.
Yeah, I did play football. It was a lot of fun. It was a great team to play with in college, and then I'd say that the apologetics is what got me into intellectual stuff. Before that, it was like I said, I was very much about like working out, and I still like to work out, but not as like my main passion.
It's good to be healthy, man. I've recently, I'm 36, and when you go over 30, you need to start looking after yourself. You can't fall asleep on the sofa anymore. I got up and my hip gave way, my legs gave way. It was like, oh, I need a new sofa. I need to start exercising.
Oh yeah, that's so true. Yeah, it's like it's not quite the same, and yeah, but it's great. It's a great stress reliever for school, which is a huge help.
Yeah, I did go to the gym for a few years, but then I broke a bone in my hand, and I've done boxing and stuff before that, and it got me away from the gym for like 3 years because it was a lot. With the NHS, it is free, but it does take a long time to get shit done, and they messed up once or twice and made things worse. And then at the end of it, when they put a pin in, it wasn't even fucking necessary to put a pin in my hand, but it's. I do need to get back to the gym. I've got weights at home, and the girlfriend's bought me a lifting bench and stuff. It's just, you have to limit yourself. Damn fucking shit getting old. You can't do the things you used to, man. It's just not as good anymore,
That's true, yeah.
At least you still have your full head of hair. I had to shave my poor wee head. Everybody loves my shiny little head,
That's funny. Yeah, I feel like I don't have quite the same energy, but it's I mean,
I have a 2-year-old, right, and we do it.
Oh wow.
Well, she'll be 3 in February, right? She already is taller than she's massive. She's 3'2" she's growing like a weed. She's in the 95th percentile, and yes, everybody in the chat knows I am one of them fathers that we all hated, that when you meet them it's like, do you want to see pictures of my kid? I'd show pictures of my kid all day long, man. I fucking love the girl. She's got ginger hair as bright as the sun. It's amazing. But
that's awesome.
Nah, I've totally lost my trail of thought now. Yes, the flying thing. I would lie on the sofa and I would lift her up in the air, and she would, do you know that scene from, what is it, fucking Flashdance or something? That where they lift them up in the air. Dirty Dancing, is it?
Dirty Dancing,
yes,
yeah.
There you go. And I would hold her up and make her put her legs out, and because we're trying to teach her swimming and stuff, so it's good for her to get her legs out and arms out. And she jumped down. She did, leant back and come off and come down on my ribs, and I let the big out. And the girlfriend thought it was hilarious. And she was like, well, that'll teach you for doing that. And then I rang the out-of-hours doctor and described what had happened to him. Because sometimes you can't get an appointment, an emergency appointment. And sounds like you've bruised a rib. You need to take it easy. I texted the girlfriend. It's like, yeah, according to the doctor, I've broke a rib. And she's like, you broke a rib? And I was like, no, I only bruised a rib. And she was like, okay, I'm still sorry. I was like, good. Hope you feel bad. Yeah. Laughing at me. It's not fair. We get old, man. That's the point I'm saying. We get old.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's true. I used to feel like I could recover faster. So.
Yeah, the recovery used to be faster. What happened there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Eat healthy,
overall,
look after yourself, exercise, take walks. I do like to drive a lot. I am a bit of a speed demon, but we should walk more.
Yeah, I've been meaning to do that more often. That's something I've got on my list of things to do is take more walks out.
Well, my job, lucky enough, man, I don't know if you know, I work as a mechanic. I have a wee bit of a background in physics. I went to Queen's in Belfast for a year and so doing physics and maths, but real life and girlfriend and all that sort of stuff happened and I couldn't finish. And I still keep up with the maths as best I can. I ain't no physicist, but I change tires and fix cars for a living. It just, your job does not define who you are. I actually love the fact that 90% of the day I look like a tramp. I'm dirty, I've got holy trousers on and welding spots on my clothes, and it shocks people. I took a guy home the other day who just drove in on his way home from the airport. His tire exploded. He had to leave the car with us. It was an Audi S4, 420 brake, the fucking sound of this thing. But I drove the man home because he only lived about a mile up the road. And he asked me about the plate, which is the whole fucking point of the license plate, when I took him into the car. And we started the conversation. And he was like, you know what? This is great. I just got a blowout on the tire on the way home. And, I had no idea who I was going to talk to, but we talked about the channel. We talked about, the whole idea, as you say, about God and stuff. The son had just come home from university. He's doing philosophy in university, so we started talking about agnosticism and stuff like that. And just because who you are and what you look like does not define who you are. And I'm starting to tangent. I've had too many joints. I'm starting to tangent.
That's okay. No, it's true. It is important to keep aware of our bias toward, like what they call the halo effect in psychology. We tend to we pay too much preference to a person's outer appearance. Yeah. So it's good to keep aware of that bias. That's true.
Yeah, as a funny joke, I think I've mentioned it before, but it's a memory that sticks out in me quite well. This last year or so, during the summer, I'm walking across from the shop towards the car, across my local wee village where I live, and I'm wearing what we would refer to as like a muscle top, a wife beater top. You know them? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wearing one of them. It's got holes in it. I've got cable ties holding my trousers up. I'm dirty. I'm in my slippers with no socks on. I don't give a fuck. And the girlfriend looks at me in what I think is admirement. She's looking at me going, look at my boyfriend, he's brilliant. And I get into the car and I was like, looking well, honey. She's like, I'm fucking, just puts her hand and her head in her hands. And, she's ashamed of the way I look sometimes, but I think it's hilarious. It really is. I'd be a diamond in the rough, man.
That's funny. That's really funny.
Well, we've got 15 minutes left. We're going to shout out to the channel. Be Mindful has told me to shut up. And Tony has told me to shut the fuck up. So, we're going to give you the last 15 minutes, man. If anybody has any questions from the chat, I will jump in and mention them. If you want to just, talk about yourself, man. Tell us a story. Tell it, you're still, in all these debates, a Christian. Are you ever conflicted? With all of this going back and forth, I know some people in the Christian community have called you out for taking atheist sides, but are you personally ever conflicted?
Do you mean conflicted, like feeling like I'm unsure of my beliefs, or conflicted in feeling like there are two warring parties that I'm trying to appease both sides?
Well, going by your body language and the smile on the second one, I would think that you feel the second one more often than not, because there does be wars on your channels. But I mean conflicted on your theology. Have you ever changed your point of view on something from a debate that's happened on your channel, or do you ever feel conflicted on the Am I a Christian? Am I agnostic? Am I atheist? Or are you set in your ways and that's it? Like,
I've definitely changed like views or beliefs. They haven't been like on like foundational things. They're maybe more just on like the arguments for and against. And I think that they're kind of like a horse apiece. So like sometimes I'm like, ooh, yeah, that's a good objection. I hadn't heard of that. Maybe that argument for theism isn't as sound as I thought. Or it could be the other way too, though. Like, you know, sometimes it's like Mike Jones will come on from Inspiring Philosophy, and there's an argument that years ago, for example, like the moral argument, I thought it's like, nah, doesn't really do it for me. But then Mike Jones gave a defense of the moral argument, and I was like, that's actually not a bad defense. Like maybe it is, maybe there's something to this argument. So I would say it kind of like, it goes back and forth, you know, because I'm not just listening to atheists, right? So strangely, I think that a lot of atheists.
It depends who you ask whether you're only listening to atheists or not. If you ask certain people, I was making a joke about Jill. If you ask Jill and things like that there, you know, certain people would say that you're not a Christian because you do take atheist sides. People have made that comment from the Christian community that you take the atheist side because you're trying to be fair and they be fundamentalists.
Yeah, I mean, especially, Nephilim Free and I have like kind of had a couple of run-ins. I think that sometimes Neph or others have thought that I was playing favorites. I don't know if that's true. I mean, maybe there's a bias. You know, there could be a bias in either direction, right? There could be some sort of bias in favor of my own group. So maybe Christians that come on, I'm more likely to defend. But then there's also what you might think of as like almost like an awareness that leads to some sort of compensatory or compensating bias that says like, well, I would suspect I'm going to be biased in favor of my own in-group, so I'm going to compensate for it and be extra biased against them. And obviously I try to avoid both of those, but I don't doubt that I, in some ways, like, you know, succumb to it unknowingly. I don't think I do it on purpose, but I'm sure unknowingly I probably do.
Can I just address something in the chat, right? I don't know what's been going on in the chat, but unless people are preaching and saying you must come love God and all that, because everyone in the chat has their own views. If anyone wants to come onto the channel and put their view across, they're more than welcome to. But God loves me is nothing wrong with a poor woman. Just let her say what she wants. Don't be blanking her. Let it run. I have the live chat going here, and I'll have a look and see, and just let it run. Just let it run. Everybody just chill out. We've got other Christians in here. We've got One Way. We have a Christian on video. Just as long as nobody's preaching, just let it go.
Are you talking about on Modern Day Debate or the live chat right now on...
Live chat right now. As long as there's no proselytizing and there's nobody preaching, that's fine. Everybody can put their point of view across, but don't say go read this and don't say you must view this. Just put your point across. I don't know, I've missed the entire chat there. I just noticed that there were some things popping up, so I just wanted to address that in the chat myself personally and just let that go on. So, James, are you open to letting other people come on to the channel and have a wee chat with yourself personally? I find it's quicker than with a live chat. We didn't get a chance to talk. Not that you were late, you turned up early. But what I usually do is go for about an hour, and then I shut down for 10 minutes, give everybody a chance to go to the toilet, grab a smoke, get a drink, and then we load back up again, and I open it up to if anyone wants to come into the stream. Anybody wants to... No, you can't hide One Way. No matter what One Way says, I pretty much let that frickin' asshole away with everything. Open it up to other people and have other people come in and vocalize their voice. Half an hour is usually what I aim for. I do know that you have another stream and you've probably other things to do, but if you could jump in for maybe 15-20 minutes just to... That would be great. If there is other people want to come into the chat.
I suppose, like, if it's, I mean, it would be easier if it was maybe in the next, like, 5 to 10 minutes.
Right, yeah. Hey, we don't even have to shut down if you don't want to, man. I can edit it out later. It's just easier for my editing. But if you're happy to go, I'm good to go. And we can just put the link in the chat. Tony, the link's in the pigsty in the appropriate channel. could you post it in the live chat for everybody? And if anybody wants to come on, preferably one of each, maybe two of each. You know, we've got 4 slots: 2 Christians, 2 atheists, 2 agnostics, 2 aliens, or as James likes to say, can we have 2 Sith and 2 Jedi, please?
That's funny. I am a huge Star Wars fan, no doubt about it.
I have not watched the movie, and I am seeing mixed reports, and I seen an actual post on Twitter today. It's just pandering to all the fans. Don't watch it. It's shit. And I'm like, oh God, what? No.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm
No spoilers
intrigued.
if you've seen it. No spoilers.
I haven't, and I'm like being really careful to try to avoid any spoilers. So I appreciate it. Yeah, it's I'm excited to see it. A friend back in Wisconsin. I'm gonna go back up to visit family in a couple of days, and he and I are supposed to go see it because we had seen the other ones together. And so I'm patiently waiting, and it's hard, but I'm sure it'll be worth it.
Oh, I don't mind doing that because it's not that I'm afraid of crowds or anything like that there, but whenever I go to the cinema, and obviously it'll be in a big screen, you know, so there's a lot of people there, and it'll get so goddamn warm that I'll probably fall asleep. Whenever things get too hot, you know, when it's really warm, you light the fire and you pass out. I think my body temperature is lower. Sometimes I sweat eating spicy pizza, you know.
Yeah.
I'll pass out, man, and I'll miss 30 minutes of the movie. So I'm going to wait for a week or so, let the local cinema die down, and then go when it's half full and not roasting. Body temperatures with 300 people.
That makes sense. That's a smart plan. I should do that too.
Yeah, I fall asleep. Same thing with snooker. It was the only sport I ever watched. Then I broke 30, and now I fall asleep on the sofa watching it. Can't watch it no more.
Oh, that's funny.
James, just to round this up, like the links in the chat, everybody is welcome to join in. Everybody. And the Discord link is in the appropriate channel in the Pigsty, Bill. You should come on to Pigsty, or you should join Discord, man. Discord's where all the fun is afterwards. Whenever there's
Go ahead, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
If you need any help with Discord whatsoever to set one up or to do anything like that, as I said earlier, man, it takes me very little time. I've been under the bonnet for over a year. If you need any help with that whatsoever, I could set one up and we could have over 100 people in it within a couple of days, I would probably say. Between Tony and me, Tony's like a bot with legs, you know. Between me and him, we could get you filled. Right, I'm going to be quiet now. This is getting out of control. Where's all the other people in the chat? But any help you need with Discord, man, just let me know. I could have one sitting in the background later on, and by the end of tonight, you could be on Discord. 1 second. Oh no, I've ruined it. There we go.
What have you done?
I should have changed the screen before I added you. I ruined the graphics and
Probably.
the production. Production was ruined. Bill, meet James. James, meet Bill.
Hello, James. We've
Hi,
spoken
Bill.
before, I think, but only in text form.
Oh yeah, well I'm glad to get to chat again. How are you?
All good. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. I'm currently in a dark room in my bed because I decided it was the best place for me. But yeah, it's all good.
Awesome.
Well, we are glad you're here, Bill. Very glad that you're here.
Yeah.
Very glad that you're on.
It's good.
Have you any questions for James? Come on, you've jumped onto the stream. It's now all about you and him.
Oh wow! I don't know. I'm sure I will think of some along the way.
Can we all agree that we do appreciate James and what he does? Because
James is cool.
Was it?
Don't get me wrong. James is cool.
Was it yourself that I said to before I had the channel going that some sort of a goal was something like modern day?
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, it was me. Yeah, it was. It was.
So. And
James asked me to go on there once, but he probably doesn't remember, and I was like too chicken at the time. Decided it would be too much of So
I'm glad that you take going online anywhere seriously to talk, because it's and to take a stance on something, because I respect that people some people more than others are like, kind of like, well, I'd have to at least study this pretty well before I take a stance online. And sometimes I get people who I'm like, I don't even know if this person believes it. So I appreciate you taking it seriously. That's good.
Yeah, I always state my opinion. I I can't always back it up, but I will always state my opinion.
You back it up,
and it's all usually off the top of my head. Yeah, it's all usually off the top of my head as well, though, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's not. I'm not like the sort of person that can sit there on their laptop computer and have Google there and Google stuff along the way. Not that there's a problem with that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's fine. I'm just saying that I don't have the facility to do that, so I have to pull everything off my head, which makes it a little bit more difficult.
He's a phone bandit, not a keyboard bandit.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. I like that.
Tony's good skin. Tony, or not Tony, sorry. Jesus, Tony's not bad skin either. We're talking about him in the chat, sorry. Bill is good skin to the point where I have invited Bill over, and Bill has actually stayed in my house, and we've had the crack, and
yeah, we had a good time.
We did have a
we had a good time.
You behave yourself now. But we had a very enjoyable time. Bill was worthwhile putting up for a couple of days. Plus, it was handy to get over. It's cheaper to get a flight now from England to Northern Ireland than it is to get a bloody train from fucking Northern Ireland to Dublin.
It's stupidly cheap. Stupidly cheap. It cost me like less than $120, the equivalent of.
Yeah, the flights here in and out are quite good. Like the last time we went to Amsterdam, me and the girlfriend, we go to Amsterdam quite regular. Well, once a year at least. Get a break from the child and stuff like that. There, you have to have the mummy daddy time. And I think for £140, I had me and Donna both flown to Amsterdam and home again. That's 4 flights for less than £120. I think it was damn cheap. We just timed it. You know, you leave this day and arrive that day. Yeah, that's me done. That's my story.
That's it.
James is American. He doesn't get to go to Amsterdam. Do you
Not
smoke,
yet.
James?
Yeah, it would cost.
Just on
it would cost
topic.
him a lot of money to go to Amsterdam.
Do you
suspect.
smoke or drink Amsterdam? Or do you smoke or drink, James?
I do enjoy a beer here and there, but no smoking. Just a beer occasionally.
Is that because you can't, or is that like you choose not to?
I just don't feel drawn to it, and
fair enough.
Yeah,
that's fair enough.
Yeah, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Calm down, Bill. Stop
You're wrong,
picking on
but...
James. Stop picking on
You're
James.
wrong, but
it's not like
you're entitled to your opinion.
No. Stop picking on James.
Sorry.
Not like anybody here's picked on James all night, but just you stop it now. He's had enough of it. No, James, I want you to know I really do have an awful lot of respect for you and what you do and how you go forward, and I hope you take my criticism on board, and whether you ignore it, whether you do it, whether you listen to me, well, the point is you have listened to me. Whether you do anything I say or listen to anything I say, you've been here, you've give us the opportunity to critique you, to question you, and to poke a wee bit of fun at you, which is what we all like to do with each other and our friends. And you know, man, a lot of love for what you do and a lot of love for yourself.
Thanks. That's really nice to you, and I promise I have not taken it in any negative way. I think that's kind of where the growth comes, is kind of getting that constructive criticism is needed. There are a lot of blind spots people have, and I think most errors people make are actually probably just errors of they don't realize they're doing it. And it's not that they're just kind of carelessly like, oh, whatever. But it's more that they're like, oh, it's kind of been my blind spot. So I think that everybody wants to grow, but not everybody wants that constructive criticism. So I try to appreciate that kind of feedback and kind of open my mind to like, oh, well, maybe we should change things. So it's helpful.
Yeah. Well, I can always say, man, be honest with me because I'll be honest with you. You know, the tough love. I know it's maybe a conservative talking term, or if anybody wants to take it this way and that way and all that, but pull your socks up sometimes and take a bit of tough love. So I'll be honest with you if you're honest with me, and that's all I ask. Tog, thanks for coming in. Tony Designs, thanks for coming in. And we're waiting on Maya. Maya said she'd come on if Tony come on. And we'll work our way around the room.
Yeah, that would work out.
Yeah, we've done Bill, ha ha ha. Tog, have you anything to say? Or are you driving and muted?
I'm in the car. I actually forgot my headset, so I don't know how loud I'm going to be.
No, you're perfect.
And all that.
You're a perfect man. Have you any questions or comments or anything you want to ask James or?
Yes. When did you start saying yeet?
I learned that. Definitely learned that from Shannon Q. I think it was about 6 to 9 months ago. I think she said that her kids were saying it while they were playing video games.
Yes.
And
yes. I thought you were like a secret gamer, and I was like, we must game together.
I loved it. I was like, oh, I've got to say that. But yeah, I'm not. I wish that I would still had been involved in games but I haven't been gaming in. I mean, I don't know if it was. We didn't really call it gaming back when I was into video games. So I'm behind on the times, I'm afraid, but I definitely don't have anything against it. So that sounds probably cold and indifferent toward gaming, but I definitely enjoyed it when I used to do it. But I've just kind of been behind.
Yeah, that happens.
I feel yeah.
Tony, have you?
Not
any
all of us can be hardcore gamers.
Tony, thanks for jumping on. Tony, I know you've only got yourself a new phone or whatever. You've been starting to come on streams and stuff, so I appreciate you giving me a chance. And have you any questions or comments for James?
I do, and James, this has been addressed somewhat about the moderation and the side chat on Modern Day Debates. My issue has always been that the moderators you've got are primarily creators themselves who are more interested in having conversations than they are moderating. There are people who moderate a good many side chats who will literally turn off the volume on a stream and only pay attention to the side chat. Right now, you've got people who are so busy having conversations with each other that I've seen people in all caps putting racial slurs in over and over and nobody doing anything about it. And my concern is that with the new terms of service on YouTube, you're probably going to end up with some strikes if you don't get some moderators in there that are actually paying attention to the side chat.
Yeah, that's good to know. I hadn't known that. I definitely hadn't seen any of the racial slurs. We've always had that rule that hate speech wasn't allowed. So I'll definitely have to ask the moderators to keep an eye out for those slurs because that's surprising to me. But maybe they're sometimes during streams we have very few moderators even present. It kind of depends on the topic.
Well, I've seen it 2 or 3 times. And that, frankly, I don't go in this. I watch you after it's no longer live now, so that I don't have to put up with the side chat.
Yeah, it's let's see. You wouldn't happen to have any? I mean, one thing that's difficult for me is I sometimes ask if people happen to have taken a picture, just because it helps me to know which moderators or which people I might have to ban. And
it's not banning the moderators, I think, is the issue. It's getting more moderators on. And I mean, Inquisitive Quandary is an excellent one. AR is an excellent one. People that can come on and will be paying attention to the chat and not just participating in it as much. And I've got to tell you, slow mode, I mean, it doesn't have to be a really slow mode. Slow mode would help a lot with the scroll, which I think is part of the problem partially. Is not everyone is able to keep up with all of the chat. They're just keeping up with the parts they're participating in because it's so fast.
That's really good to know. Yeah, I will definitely keep slow mode on. I will definitely also keep a lookout for those slurs.
Another thing you could do is...
I'll come in on the next couple, and if I have a way of getting in touch with you on Discord would be best. I'll take some screen caps. It's happened every stream I've been to.
Wow. Yeah, that's surprising to me, but I don't doubt your testimony. So I'll definitely take it seriously.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
In the meantime, don't have Gavin back on.
It's definitely a surprising one last night, that's for sure.
Oh, that was fun.
was funny. I was going to say you could always go into your moderation settings and when you go to general, there's certain words you can block. So you can go there and type in the word. And this way they can't even if YouTube doesn't block it, you can have the choice to block any type of word you don't like. And
If you
I
go
put
into
up a
my
button
chat,
on
if you go into my chat and try and type Jesus is Lord, it won't pop up. Nope, won't pop up. I blanked it.
Oh.
You can't say mofo either, apparently. Any version thereof in your chat.
Mofo?
MathPig. Yeah, I said mofo earlier and it blocked it.
But that's
But then I
YouTube.
said see you next Tuesday. But then I said see you next Tuesday without the actual word, just the 4 letters, and it let me have that fine.
I'm not sure, man.
Which I thought was hilarious.
Well, that must be YouTube. No, the only things that's blanked is you see, Critical Cripple is working his way around it. But the only thing that's blanked is that guy's name, and then Jill is shorthand. But I think I spelled it wrong, and it's IL. I must have missed it.
It must be a YouTube thing then, yeah.
I couldn't say boobies, as I said earlier. I had to put 2 zeros in instead of O's to say boobies. Like, not boobies is fun. You can type that in the calculator. So
I actually typed that in on your show and it worked. In your live stream, I tested it out and I'm like, it went through for me, and I was like, oh, it works for me. What the heck?
I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure. I banned it because it's a moniker for a person, not because of what it says. God loves me. That's the reason. It's the name of a moniker of a troll. I banned it because it's the name of a troll, not because of what it is. So, James, you've got a serious face on. Have you something to say there, James? It's all about you. Come on, this show's all about you.
No, I only budgeted about an hour. I've actually got to get grades in, and I've also got to work on a paper or two.
Give me
so
10 minutes and we can round everything up. We'll go round and can you give me 10 minutes? And then we'll round up, yeah? Or do you need to go right now?
I maybe if there's like a few more minutes I could go, but otherwise I hate to say no, but other than an extra a full hour and 15, it's hard for me to go over that just because I do have.
No, an hour and 15 is a nice round number. I like round numbers, so we can go an hour and 15 if we can do that, man. I'll appreciate that. Round numbers are always good for maths and math analytics and all that. So, Bill, any questions for James?
Yeah.
We'll work our way around. Any last questions?
No, I
or
don't
comments?
think so.
Okay, right, moving on.
I don't
from
think
you,
so.
Tug.
I think we're all good. Yeah.
Shut up. No, I'm done with you now. Tug, anything else?
No, I'm good. Hi, James.
Hi, glad to talk to you. How are you?
We got Maya.
I'm doing good.
Excellent.
We eventually get to see Maya. All right.
I know. What's up with this? It's just me and James with our picture. What's up with that? There you go. You see a beautiful bald head.
There you go. I'm going to hide again. Maya.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming on. It's very good to eventually... I've heard your voice and you've heard my voice and we've texted, but it's very good to eventually VC with you. Before I steal all the time, have you any question, comments, or critique for James while you're here?
I feel like everybody's ganging up on James, and I hate that. I love.
I knew that's how it would come across.
James, I really do love your moderation style, especially with in the chat. I love that you give everybody a voice, and I think that a lot of people hate being censored. So I love that you that's your style. My only concern would be kind of like what Tony said with the moderators, with the people that you choose to have moderating the chat. I think they are not very adult about that. And I know for a fact that Tony's not the only person you've lost. And I think if you can kind of get a rein on that, you can see your channel grow a little bit more. And I really, 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 like if I had to moderate people, I would probably have the same thought process as you. So I get it. Like I know a lot of people are like, no, shut it down. You have to stay on topic. And there's something to be said for conversation, right? And letting the natural flow so that people can actually process the information they're being given rather than You know, it's like, well, I have these talking points that I have to stick to, and he's going to go, and then I'm going to go, and nothing's really exchanged. But in the conversation, I've seen things. I've seen people change their minds a little more reticently during the conversation. So I do appreciate that. I just think that when people are not being good faith actors, and I've, noticed that most recently, I would say with Skylar's last two appearances, you have him paired with like not good faith actors, and that from an audience perspective, it is equally frustrating. If somebody is just lying or like trying to, just do gotchas and move on, if you could just kind of keep them to the point. Because what I believe is that you want good faith actors in your, like the whole reason you have the whole show is so that we can get honest ideas out there and people can, formulate their opinions based on facts. And that is not possible if they're not being given facts. So, when you talk to people like MathPig and Tony, I think what they're asking you to do isn't to railroad or like, no, like you have to have your ideas the way I say you have to have your ideas. Like, I don't think that's what they're trying to say. What I think they're trying to say is, okay, if you have an idea, if you have an honest idea, state that. And if you don't, okay, then perhaps we need to move on to a point where that you have that's either more founded, or where you're willing to give a good faith effort. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, I ramble.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you said that. That's definitely really helpful. I definitely think that, like last night, for example, there are some that have surprised me, and I have been thinking of new ways that I could kind of vet people before they come on, because that was a surprise, like I said last night, to put it nicely. So, yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from.
See, this is why I don't bring Maya on. I wasted an entire episode. She shortened it to like 2 minutes. That would be the whole episode over.
No, I know, and I totally stole 2 minutes of your life, James. And I know you gotta get going, so I didn't mean to go on that long.
No, that's okay. Don't worry about it.
Rory, have you anything to jump in? Have you anything to jump in for the last? Jesus, Rory, you've got 1 minute and 8 seconds.
Okay, well, I'll be very quick. Just one question here for James. Having met your president, I was just wondering what are your views on Trump 2020?
Yeah, so I did not vote for Trump in the last election, and I don't see myself voting for him in the future one. I don't like Trump. I enjoyed the impeachment process, but I think it's highly probable he'll get reelected. Not because
fucking sucks, doesn't it?
I don't have like favorable feelings toward that, but I think that he probably will.
Are you trolling me, Rory? Are you trolling me, or are you hiding your face? Are you trolling me?
No, this is my cousin, Nigel.
Is it? Yes. Right. Well,
looking at that makes me want to punch you. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't know where that's. I'm getting a wee bit of that too, but I don't know. This is British politics, man. British politics. Sorry,
okay.
Rory, that is hilarious. I have to say that is quite.
Reverse to my avatar.
This is actually quite funny. But anyway, right, James. Thank you very much. Do you want to shill your channel? Shout everybody, let everybody know who you are, and if they don't know who you are, links are in the description. Go and sub to that, man. James, we'll talk afterwards. We'll tweet afterwards about Discord. But that your Discord would be fantastic. If there is certain moderations that you have to do because of Discord's terms and services Tony has brought out, and Discord, because it's a chat thing, is more aware of it. But if you applied 90% of your moderation to your Discord, it would be an amazing. It could end up like Tom on Box's sort of conversation style. It really does run 24 hours a day across the world all the time. So what you're getting on your channel, you know, there's ways and means of bringing it down and limiting and having 2-on-2 and moderation skills. And I think once you got the hang of it, man, your brain might explode. But
that's awesome.
Share your channel, do your thing, and we'll work around the room and we'll end the stream.
I thanks so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure to get to be here and to get feedback. It's really helpful and kind of gives me a more well-rounded perspective. And also, Discord is something we wanted to do. I don't really have. I would like to be involved in it, but it's extremely difficult for me time-wise to get it set up and to play like a significant role in it, to be honest.
If you can just think of the name of a channel and who you want access to, I can do that. That's all you need to think of. I can do everything else.
I was going to say, if you and Tony really would be interested, it would be...
MathPig and Tony could completely run your Discord.
It would definitely be a huge help, because we wanted to have it and people asked for it, and I just don't have the time to be able to do it with everything. So if it would be something that you'd enjoy, I would be happy to completely trust you in terms of how you do everything with it, like with the moderating and all that. Like, I would be fully happy for you to kind of like run it the way you think it would be best run.
What I usually do is I set it up with rules. I set it up with blank. So if you want to ban this word or not ban this word or whatever, it's all set up, and all you have to do is tell me the word you want gone, the people you want access to. You just have to give me that, and I'll have it set up before your stream starts later. Like.
Gotcha.
We'll not talk about that on stream because nobody wants to watch about that. So, James, you're Modern Day Debate. Your channel is Modern Day Debate on YouTube or something.
That's right. And basically, in a nutshell, we just want to have a level playing field for kind of the meaningful questions of life to be discussed. And also, we do have a regular, once or twice a month, we do have all the super chats go to a charity like child burn victims or starving children, like a lot of different causes we've given to. And that's just a part of the vision for the channel. I definitely do enjoy that. I think that really, for me personally, adds a lot of meaning to the channel, being able to try to make a small positive difference out there. So, so we appreciate you having me on. It's been a pleasure.
No, I'm really glad. Man, no, I can't thank you enough. I really can't. I have an awful lot of respect for you. Regardless of what I've said tonight, I say it because, not that we go so far as saying that we're friends, but you've seen me in the chat. I've made fun of your Blazers. You know who I am. You know, I feel like I can be friendly with you and honest with you, and I say these things out of love.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I believe you, and it's very well received, and I appreciate it. So thank you.
Well, thanks everybody for... Oh, Tony, you didn't get to say your bit. You want to throw in a wee dig or anything before we go?
No, but I will say very quickly that you mentioned before, James, about vetting your guests more carefully before having them on, especially after last night. Discord is a great way to do that because you'll have access to the community in a way that you don't now. I mean, Twitter just doesn't do that for you. If you ask, I'm thinking of having this person on, what does everyone know about him? We'll go find out everything we can about that person and get it back to you. It would really be helpful to you.
That's really cool. That's
Tony
excellent to know. I'm glad you told me that.
Tony the Spy.
Yeah, that's me.
That sounds like an awesome way to do it.
James, thank you so much again. Everybody, thanks for coming on for our little mini after party. This has been fantastic. I really did have a very, very good time, and you know, the only thing better than talking to James online face to face was meeting Maya online face to face. Sorry, James. Sorry, I know her better. And James, just because I love you, there you go. You have to kick you. We'll have to kick you at least once. Just for no name's sake. Everybody that comes on here gets kicked if they're loved. But you'll never say anything that's annoying me enough for me to kick you. So I'm just going to arbitrarily kick you on your first show. So on that note, everybody, thanks very much for turning up. And if I can... I'm in the wrong screen. Thanks everybody for turning up. Bye-bye.